and welcome to ADHD Friendly. In this podcast, I share tools, tips, and resources to bring more ease in an ADHD-friendly way to your life. I'm Patty Blinderman. I'm a professionally certified ADHD coach with over 10 years experience. And today is episode 78, and I'm going to be sharing a knitting celebration as well as an ADHD-friendly tip to make instructions work better for your brain. And then my main topic for today is creating a mini habit around daily planning. And then as always, at the end of the episode, I'll highlight what's coming up in next week's episode. But let's start as we always do with a celebration. So I have a knitting celebration. I finished my first pullover top-down sweater. I'm wearing it. If you are listening to this podcast, I invite you to check out my YouTube channel, ADHD Friendly Podcast, for access to all the visuals that I'll be sharing. So I took a 5-week class at my local knit shop, and the structure worked for me. It holds me accountable. I just do really well with classes, so I'm leaning into doing that as much as I can. And it was one of my 23 in 2023 list goals to learn how to knit a pullover top-down sweater. I have a picture I'm going to share. This is me, so you can get a full view of the whole thing. I just finished it and put it on, and I was so excited that it fit. It fits like it was made for me, because it was. Okay, so that's my celebration, and just want to share what led to it being a celebration and happening is I actively try to do the things that work best for me so that I can do things more easily, and just asking myself to go learn how to do it or to do it without the structure of a class wouldn't work. So when they offered this class, I was like, sign me up. And now I have it as a win. And that picture is in my visual success journal so that I can remember the success and reconnect to it when I'm lower energy. And I need to remember that I don't mess up all the time, or there are things that I finish, like my sweater. All right, now on to my ADHD friendly tip. This week, I'm highlighting that if you're having a hard time following instructions or directions, really explore what would you need to be able to follow them with more ease. For me, because I'm very visual, I always look at how to make it easier for me to process visually. So whether it's finding pictures of what I'm trying to do or watching a video, or if I see written instructions and they're written like in a paragraph form, I'll break out the paragraph into individual bullet points so that I can follow it, and then I'll print it. I always I'm a hard copy kind of person. I need to see the list and check things off. So if it's in too many words, too busy, I try to figure out what would sometimes I change the font and print it out that way. That's all it needs to happen. But sometimes if it's just too many words, I break it into little bullet points and then I print it out again so I can follow it. So when you think about what you need, really, explore what is it about the way the directions or the instructions that you're trying to follow isn't working for you, so that you can do the opposite to make it work for you. So I want to share an example, and it's ironically another knitting example. So the pattern here that I was making is for a blanket that I was making. And I just highlighted, again, I'm holding up a little example where this was round 1, and all of the instructions for all of the different rows of the pattern were just written in this very condensed format. It was really hard for me to follow and keep up with, because every single thing here was like another instruction. And then it had like rows 2, 4, 6, and 8. Well, I'd have to remember when I got to row 3 to go back up here for row 4. Did not work for me. Was making mistakes left and right, getting very frustrated. And so I knew I needed to take it and make it into a visual that I could follow with more ease. So I took these instructions and I typed the instructions into a spreadsheet. You guys, if you listen to this podcast or follow it, I love a spreadsheet. So I went to my computer and I typed rows 1 in order all the way down to row 22 in order. So I didn't say, oh, repeat row here, repeat. No, I typed it in order so I could follow it. I put different colors. So I put red bold if I needed to do something, and you'll see that throughout because it only happens 4 times during the pattern, but I'm not going to forget because it's right there where I need to see it. And then I would highlight if I needed to change the color in a different color so I could see it. So I broke up every other row with a different color, and then I made the color green when I needed to start my border with a different color. So I could literally see the color prompted my brain to say, wait a minute, something's changing here, pay attention. And then what I love about my spreadsheet is I can take a Post-it note, and if I'm on row 1, I put a Post-it so I'm not messing up and following a different row. And then when I'm done with row 1, I move it down. So now I'm following row 2's instructions. Easy peasy, works for my brain, real easy. And then my other example is in episode number 4, I talked about how to refresh your medicine cabinet. And then a year later, I talked about it again in episode 55, where I revisited that process. And what I noticed was I really needed to capture that process to make it easier for me. And I tweaked it and I updated it. And now this lives in my ADHD Friendly Owner's Manual. And I have a calendar reminder that shows up when it's time for me to revisit it. And the calendar reminder tells me you have a step-by-step bullet pointed list that you can follow to refresh the medicine cabinet. Because what I know is it's very frustrating if somebody gets sick and the cold and flu medicine is expired. So I have this whole list that I updated again this year, and it's in my Palm. So I remember what I'm doing. It has the little check boxes. The font size works for me. It's very sparkly, and it makes it easier for me to follow the steps. Making directions work in an ADHD friendly way creates more ease. It means less errors. So now I have less frustration that I'm having to tolerate, less stress because I'm not, kind of like, I've got, I'm losing time because I have to go back and fix my mistakes. And I always say it supports my future self, because like my example that's in my Palm, I have lots of step-by-step checklists in my Palm, because they help me every time I need to do something. I have that process captured. I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I can go back and follow it. So make instructions and directions work for you and your brain with more ease, if they're not already written in the way or given to you in the way that you do need them in. So that's my tip. Now, on to my main topic for today, and that is how to turn a planning habit, how to start a daily planning mini habit by making it really small, so that you're not going from, you have no structure around planning your day at all and expecting yourself just to, okay, 10 minutes every day, I'm going to do this. That might be a really, tall order to follow through on and succeed with. So in episode number 18, I went into more depth around mini habits. So if that's something that interests you, I invite you to check it out. And in episode number 66, I went into my daily planning habit, and I shared how I structure my daily planning and had lots of visuals in there to share with you. So I invite you to check those episodes out. But today I want to focus on ways to jumpstart a daily planning habit and focusing on using a mini habits approach to doing it. So I'm holding up the book that I used for reference here, and it's Stephen Guise's Mini Habits, Smaller Habits, Bigger Results. Love this book so much. It's truly mini. It's just a tiny little book, but tons of great examples in here on how to make things mini habits. And Stephen says, start by making your habit super. I call them super small or stupid small. Stephen calls it stupid small. He says, make it so small that your brain sees it as non-threatening, and you will not need a large supply of willpower or motivation or energy to get it done. So little, you'll hear this if you go back and listen to the mini habits episode in episode 18. I talk about how it's really important to give yourself permission to make it stupid small, because you might push back and say, well, I can't do that. That's like so ridiculous. That's too small. Check the box. You can always do more. The goal is to make it small enough that there's no way you won't be able to do it, and then build the habit around that. You can always do more than that if you want to, but make the habit itself stupid small so that you can check it off every day. So the examples that are often shared around mini habits are, maybe you want to do 25 sit-ups a day or 25 push-ups a day. Well, if you're not doing any, start with 1. You can always do more once you're down there. Once you get going, you might want to keep going. But if you do 1, you can check the box. That 1 a day, if you do 1 every single day, builds the mini habit. It's more than nothing. We have to acknowledge any and all progress. So when it comes to daily planning, it might be finding ways to make it smaller. So maybe you're like, a lot of experts will recommend 10 minutes a day on looking at your daily plan. If that feels too big or that's going to be difficult to consistently keep up with, maybe I'm going to look at it for 1 minute a day, or I'm just going to commit to opening up my calendar and looking at my calendar. I'm just going to get out my planner and open it up. And that's it. That's building the habit. That's stupid small. Okay. So now I'm going to give you the 5 steps that I want to share from the Mini Habits book by Stephen Guise. Step number 1, decide what your stupid small daily planning mini habit will be. What is so small, there's no way you're going to fail at doing it. It's absolutely doable. You feel no resistance. If anything, it might feel like, I don't know, that's really small. Good. Make it really, really small. Because remember, you can always do more if that isn't working for you. That's step 1. Just define what your mini habit around daily planning is. Step number 2, get to your why. Why is daily planning even important to you? If you're trying to establish a new habit, we have to connect to what is it that is really important to you, connecting it to your values. When you think about starting a daily planning habit, the example might be, okay, so I want to plan my day every day. Why? My initial answer is always because I will feel less stress. I know when I plan my day, it creates more ease and more calm in my day. So why is that important to not feel as stressed? Because if I don't have a plan, I run around feeling very untethered, very unconnected, and I'm just kind of putting out fires all day. And I tend to have a sense of agitation at the end of the day that I didn't do the things that I thought I was going to do or I needed to do. And that actually ends up often, it would interrupt my sleep. And so it creates a vicious cycle if I'm not spending a few minutes planning every day. So why does that matter? So again, getting at the why underneath, like how do we connect it to our own why? And the why is, if I don't have a plan, I feel like I'm zooming through life, doing things that pop up in front of me, but not the things that are most important to me. And I know this is a very prevalent ADHD trait where we'll do what's in front of us because it feels like it's the most important thing because it's right here, right now, but it isn't necessarily the thing that we really decided is the most important thing for our time. So deciding your why is step number 2. Why is this important to you, and connecting it to your values? Why it's important to you, not important to someone else. It needs to connect for you. Step number 3, define your mini habit cue. And by this, I mean, what's your general cue? So maybe and as I share these, I'm going to share 3 different cues. Notice which one resonates most with you. There's no one size fits all. There's no, this is what everybody should do. A general cue is, I'm just going to plan my day at some point during the day. You're just going to pick a mini habit that's totally mini to build that daily planning habit around, and you're going to do it every day at any time during the day, but you're going to do it. That's general. Time-based might be, I'm going to plan each day at 5 p.m. So at 5 p.m., I'm going to look at my plan, look at the calendar for what's coming up the next day. So I have a sense of what is coming up before I even leave work for the day. And then I might set an alarm to remind myself. That's a time-based cue. And then there's activity-based cues. So this example would be, I'm going to plan my day every day when I have my coffee. I'm going to open my planner when I have my coffee. That's my cue. Okay. So general is at any point, no, not really anchored to anything. Activity-based is tied to a specific thing that you're already doing. And then time-based is a specific time. Notice which one works for you. That's the one you're going to lean into trying, because again, we're trying to create ease with your mini habit around daily planning. Step number 4, what's your plan for your reward? Rewards are essential when we have ADHD brain wiring. It could be that you're just going to track it and that checking the box is enough of a reward for you because you can see your progress, and that checkbox being checked gives that dopamine reward pathway. It gives it a little hit. So you're getting some dopamine going in your brain. And if that's enough, fabulous. If you need more than that, identify what you'll do to reward yourself. My example is always chocolate. So if I'm trying to, let's say, look at my planner every day while I'm having my morning coffee, maybe I have a little Dove chocolate that I get every day when I check the box. I get a Dove chocolate. That would pull me into doing it. So I invite you to explore what would work for you. And then maybe like for me, if I do my plan for a week, so I want to really encourage you, if you're trying to start a daily planning mini habit, try whatever you're doing for 1 week. Try it every day for a week. And so for me, if I did it every day for the week, I might give myself a reward of I get to go pick out a new sparkly daily planning tool. I love daily planners. I love any kind of planner. So going to pick one out would be a really big week-long reward to give myself. So that's number 4, pick your reward and have a plan for it. And then step number 5, write your plan down on paper. So remember, it might feel like, oh, I just decided all this. There's no way I'm going to forget. That may not be true. If you have ADHD, I'm going to say it probably isn't true. So write it down. This is my example. I'm going to look at my daily planner with coffee each morning. I wrote it on a little note card. I wrote Monday through Sunday with little check boxes underneath. I can check them off. And then I even wrote down my reward, Dove, 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 Dove. So I remember I get a little Dove chocolate. And then if I do, I put 5 out of 7 days because I don't really do my planning on weekends. So if I do Monday through Friday, I get my new planner. If you need to look at weekends too, absolutely 7 days, or if that consistency works for you, write it down so you can see it. There's, remember, a lot of evidence that shows that if you write it with your hand, it amplifies it with your mind. So get it out of your head and write it down. You can reference it. You can remember the habit because you can put it in your owner's manual. It really serves you to write it down. So that is step 5. So again, first, you're going to define what your mini habit is around your daily planning, make it stupid small. Then you're going to decide your cue, right? Oh, I'm sorry. No, then you're going to decide your, what's in it for you, like what's your why. I skipped right over that. And then your cue. So when are you going to do it? General, time-based, or activity-based? And then your reward, identifying what your plan is, and then write it down. Those are your 5 steps to starting your mini habit around a daily plan. Remember, think small. You can always do more, but keep it small enough that you don't have resistance. When you go to try out your plan, if you're having resistance, make it even smaller. We tend to get into all or nothing. If building a daily habit around daily planning is new for you and you feel resistance, it is not evidence that you cannot plan. It is evidence that it is too big. Make it smaller. Mini habits never hold you back. Stephen says mini habits are sparks with unlimited potential. Love that. Unlimited potential. Use your mini habit to start a daily planning habit. And remember, all progress is worth celebrating because how you spend your time equals your life. So we're literally creating more intention behind how you're spending your time. So you're creating the life of your dreams with a mini habit. All right. So I started this episode, I'm going to recap now with a celebration of my knitted sweater, top down color work pullover sweater. Love it. So excited. I'm actually making another one because it was so much fun. And then I shared my ADHD friendly tip when it comes to directions. If the way instructions or directions are being presented to you doesn't work for your brain, what do you need to be able to follow them with more ease? For me, I lean into the visual and I use that to support me to follow directions with more ease. So I'm making less mistakes and using less energy and effort to get through them. What do you need? And then I shared my main topic, which is how to create a daily planning mini habit, and used Stephen Guise's Mini Habits book and his approach, shared 5 steps to getting started with defining your mini habit, deciding your why, getting down to drilling down to why is this important to you? What is it going to give you to do it? And then your cue for when you'll do it, and then a reward plan. And last but not least, write it down so you can remember what you decided and follow through. I invite you to share if you try this out in the comments. Please post what worked for you, what you noticed, what didn't work. We learn from each other and we all can benefit from what we notice works or doesn't work when we try to build a new habit. That's all for this episode of ADHD Friendly. If you haven't started your ADHD Friendly Owner's Manual, I invite you to check out my website, adhdfriendly.com, for lots of resources to support you to start one. And if you haven't yet become a subscriber to my podcast or followed me where you get your podcast, I invite you to do that. The more followers there are, the more I know what resonates with you. You guys can tell me what you need more of or less of, and share it with others who might benefit to learn a little bit more about ways to make their life a little bit more spacious, easy, flowing in an ADHD friendly way. Until next time, tally ho.